everybody, welcome to Alicia Today. So today I am going to do a video on the DTF Sublimation Hack. I am going to be making a shirt for my daughter for the Little Mermaid. So let's get into it. So the things that you need to have is some sublimation ink, and I use this sublimation ink from HTVRONT, and you need some DTF powder. I brought this one off of Amazon. It's called Sinheri DTF powder. I got several packs. Let's see. I got several packs of 25 grams, and so that's what I'm going to use for the powder. And then the paper, or I should say the DTF transfer film that I'm going to be using is the same brand, so the Sinheri, and it's called DTF transfer film A4 50 sheets. So this is what I'm going to be using. See if you can see that. Alright, so that's what I'm going to print the image on, and then I'm going to use that DTF powder to then sprinkle onto the ink after it's done printing, and I'm going to then put it onto my auto heat press so that it can bake the powder onto the ink so that it's ready to press onto the shirt. Okay, so I think I showed you all the supplies you need. Actually, no, let me also show you what heat press I'm going to be using, what sublimation printer I'm going to be using, and then the shirt I'm going to be using. So let's go to it. Okay, so here's the sublimation printer I use. So I converted an Epson EcoTank. It's a ET2803. And like I said, I use the HTVRONT sublimation ink. I'm going to be using this HTVRONT Auto Heat Press. And I'm going to put this on, let's see, let's turn it on. I'm going to put it on 300, and for 20 seconds. Even though, like, when I actually put it on there so this is going to be the settings for pressing the shirt, but when I put it on there to bake the powder onto the ink, I'm going to let it sit in there longer, so we'll see how long that takes. And here's the shirt I'm going to use that I picked out for my daughter. So as you can see, it's wrinkled right now, but once we set it all up, it's going to be good to go. So let me show you guys how I prepare the image. So I want to show you guys some things and tell you guys some things to keep in mind before you start printing. Make sure that you are going to put the paper in there the correct side. So this says print side. Make sure you put that on there correctly. So when I'm going to take it out of here, I'm going to make sure that I'm taking it out like this, and I'm going to put it directly into the printer like this so I don't accidentally put it in wrong. So I'm not going to set it down anywhere. I'm going to put it directly into the printer. Okay. And then also you want to make sure that when you are printing, so I'm going to print this from Microsoft Word. I have my image on Microsoft Word. So if you guys want to see how I do that, I have another video you can go back to see how I'm able to make my images and print them directly from Microsoft Word. But anyways, you want to make sure that you put your sublimation printer, if you have any words on your image, on mirrored, so that you're able to make sure that your words are going to come out correctly on your shirt when you press it. Okay, so now we're going to print it. What you want to make sure too is when you're printing, you want to make sure that after it's done printing, you immediately go to put your powder on, so that that ink is still dry. So on my printer, it's telling me printing is suspended due to paper mismatch. I just push OK and go to next because I don't care that it says that. And then it says print on the paper loaded in rear paper figure, and I'm going to say yes. And you see, it still grabs it anyway. So while it is printing, so that I'm ready for the next step, I am going to get the powder ready, and so that I'm able to put that powder on there as soon as it's finished printing. And then I already set up the auto heat press, as you guys saw previously, so that I can put it under there so that I could cook the ink and the powder together. Alright, so it's finished printing. So what I'm going to do now is, so here's the image. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut it smaller because I don't need the whole entire piece of paper. Okay. And then I have this little tray that I use to catch the extra powder. And I put the extra powder that I have into this little container. Okay. So try not to touch it, or I should say touch the ink. And then put some powder. You can put like a generous amount, because you can always, whatever part that you don't end up using, you can always just put it back to use for later. So I'm going to cover it. And then I'm kind of going to just move it around. Like I said, keep it over whatever container you have to catch, so that you don't get it all in your carpet or table or however you're doing it. And just make sure it's coated pretty good. Okay. So once it looks like it's coated pretty good, then you could, so now we're going to go take it to the heat press. Okay, so now we're back to the heat press. So it's on 300. And I am going to pull this out. So you don't want to have it do auto press, so make sure it's not on auto press. This does not need to be there if you're using this type of press. And I'm just going to put it under here and let it heat it up until you'll see the color turns dark. Since it's on a lower temperature, it might take a little longer. So let's just see how it does with 300 degrees. And then if it's seeming like it's not really melting, then we'll turn it up. So you can kind of check it periodically. See, it looks like it's not really doing anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it up for now. Maybe like 360, 370. Put it under there. Okay. Alright, so instead of watching it for this long, I'm going to, actually I want you guys to see how long it takes. I don't want to cut the video. Alright, let's see. So yeah, it's starting to melt. And so if you want to put extra of the powder, which is kind of like the sticky glue that'll help it stick to the shirt, you can. This time I'm just going to use one layer. I'm not going to do two layers of the powder. So basically 2 layers of the powder would be if you put the powder on, you put it under the heat press or whatever heat source you have, and it melts, and then you put another layer of powder and then you press it. But this one I'm going to do it by just putting one layer of powder, melt it, and then put it directly onto the shirt. Okay, let's check it again. See how it's getting darker? So it's looking good. I'm going to flip it this way since it seems like it's getting that side faster. Okay, so let's give it a couple more seconds and then I'm going to go grab the shirt. So I got the shirt. If you guys have the shirt, one's for like a child, you can use one of those. I think I do have one, so I'm going to use it. It says front for children. So I'm going to use one of these to help line up the design. But you don't need it. You can always eyeball it if you want. Let's check it. Looks good. That looks beautiful. Okay, so this is what we're going to press onto the shirt. So what we're going to do now is take your lint brush, put your shirt on, and let's put this back on 300 because you don't want to press it too high to where it over melts your design and it ruins it. Alright, so I'm going to put this shirt on here. You know what? Let me put my heat gloves on too so I don't burn myself. Because I don't know if anybody else has this type of heat press, but it doesn't lift up like the other ones. Like it doesn't go up. It literally has like this little bit of space. So if you have this type of heat press, I would make sure you have some heat resistant gloves so that you don't burn yourself. Because other than that, it works really well. Alright, so put your shirt, and then you're going to make sure there's no extra like lint or debris that can interfere with getting your design on there. Okay, and then you're just going to press it real quick. So I put it under there. Since it's so high, I might just put it under there for like a couple of seconds. How you do it is you just push the R button, and then I'm going to push it again, and it releases it. Okay. You see how it's all nice and pressed? Alright. So now I'm going to use this, and I'm going to center it. Alright, and then I'm going to take my design, try to center it on there. So then I'm just going to try to make sure that it's on the center because I don't want to off-center design. I'm going to take this off. So you get it on there however you think is good for you, like when you look at the shirt. Alright, that looks good to me. So then what I'm going to do now, just to make sure it doesn't move before or while it's pressing, is I'm going to use some of the heat transfer tape just to make sure it's stabilized on there. And then, since it's now at 300 for 20 seconds, I'm going to put it on auto. And I'm going to put a piece of white copy paper on top. Alright. So with that on there, now we're going to press it. Alright. Let's see how it turns out. Again, I'm going to put my heat resistant gloves on so that I don't burn myself once it's done. And then sometimes if you have like a piece of paper or something, I've noticed that it sticks on there, so make sure when it comes off that if your paper did not stick onto your shirt, to make sure you grab it off. You see how it's not there? So make sure you get that paper off of there. You don't want it to stay on there and burn. Okay. Another thing you want to make sure you do is do not immediately take off the design. You want it to be cool before you take it off. So if that means you have to, let's see, let me move the camera. Let's see. So if that means you have to shake it, try to get it to cool. So let me turn this off auto. Because you want to make sure it's cool before you take it off. You don't want to risk your design being messed up because you weren't patient enough to wait. Okay. So when I touch it, it feels cool to me. So I'm going to take off. Ooh, that is super cute. My daughter is going to love it. We're going to go see The Little Mermaid, and I was thinking of making her a cute little shirt. And like when you touch it, it feels really nice. Alright. So there we go. Make sure you guys can see it. Alright. Thank you guys for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. So again, this was the DTF Sublimation Hack using the Epson EcoTank 2803 sublimation, converted sublimation printer. Yeah.